Hello everyone and welcome! Good to see y'all. Before I get into my story about the time years and years ago that I went to Swift's trucking school, I want to tell you guys, we had such a huge achievement here, and I want to share it with all the people that follow my channel, because this is a big deal for all of us, and you guys are going to be so excited, probably as excited as I am. It has been 6 days since the last time I've gotten my ass kicked on Fuel Island. Yeah, it's been a whole 6 days. I'm thinking about getting one of those signs. Maybe we'll put it right up here, like those workplace accident signs. And, you know, instead of it's been 0 days without an accident or whatever, we'll just tick off the days that I go without getting my ass kicked on Fuel Island. Does anyone know where I could get one of those? Because I think we need one. I think we need one, baby. That is quite the streak. My God. Let me tell you how I'm doing it, okay? Because that's the really interesting part, Josh. You're still, you know, making obviously hilarious content on the internet that tells people how much they want to kick your ass on Fuel Island. What is your secret? Well, my friends. Have I got the answer for you? Don't you worry. So, you know, a few videos back, I told you that the way I was avoiding detection on Fuel Island was by crawling around on the ground wearing camo pants so no one could see me, right? Obviously, that wasn't working well because I just kept catching a beating every time I went out there. So I switched to a ninja outfit, you know, all black and, you know, black fabric covering my face and all that. And I started focusing more on swift and quiet movements, right? My thought process, guys, because I thought about this. I'm like, the camo's not working. They're still spotting me and stomping a mud hole in my ass every time I'm out here. So that's not working. So I figured my thought process was, if I can move swiftly and quietly, then this will eliminate the ass kickings I'm getting from the truckers that are either slow moving or hard of hearing. And it's really cut it down a lot. I mean, 6 days, guys. I should have wrote something up here. Cause to celebrate, I suppose. I doubt we'll make it to, well, maybe even a week. It might not even be 7 days. I'm not really sure. But I doubt we'll make it to a month. That would be absolutely insane. In other news, there is a fly in my truck. And this thing is massive. I'm trying to catch it, but it's very fast. But I'm thinking I could catch it and I could strap a saddle on it and we could go on an epic adventure together. I mean, it's a huge fucking fly. It's right here. It's too fast, man. I need something to smack it with. This is my makeshift fly swatter. It's a paper bag. This end is weighted. It's folded over a few times. And if I can get him to just stop moving for a few minutes, I'll have his ass. Anyways, I don't know if you guys knew this or not. I don't know if I've ever really talked about it, or even if I told the story on my old channel. I don't fucking remember, to be honest with you. Years ago, I went to Swift trucking school. This was, let's see. It's got to be close to 20 years ago now. And you guys have heard me say a number of times that I have been a truck driver for 10 years. And the reason I always say that is because I remember being like 5 years into trucking. I was doing YouTube videos then. And I would always hear some dickhead always say, you're a rookie until you've made it to 10 years, because that guy was slow and he couldn't figure out how to drive a truck within a 10-year time period. So once it finally clicked in his brain about around his 10-year mark, he thought everyone else was as dumb as him, right? And he's like, yep, takes 10 years, right? Good thing the world doesn't work on that guy's time, because we'd never get shit done. That guy isn't a particular guy, but those guys, you know what I mean? If you think it takes you 10 years to learn how to drive a truck, got to turn in your CDL, man. Just give it up. Just give that shit back. But that is always the reason. I've made it to 10 years now. And the reason I always say 10 years I've been driving a truck is because I wanted to see if somebody would come along with a new number and say, say, hey, yeah, but you're still a rookie if you haven't done this, or you're still a rookie if you haven't done that. I wanted to see if they would move the goalpost, basically. And to answer your question, if you're all wondering, did they move the goalpost, Josh? Fuck yeah, they did. Oh yeah, yeah. Now I have to drive a cab over from the 1970s, apparently, to not be a rookie. Why the fuck would I drive that? That doesn't even make sense. I gotta drive, I forget how it went from the one guy that was telling me that I'm a rookie. I had to drive it looked to be a Kenworth, one of the older ones, and I had to drive it specifically from the west to the east coast and then from the north to the south coast, and I didn't even understand the logistics of it. That's how shitty of a truck driver I am. I was like, so I went from west to east, and now I have to drive from north to south. It feels like there's something missing there. How did I get from east to north? And I will always be a rookie trucker because I don't know how to teleport a fucking truck to another location. But I imagine that once I do all these crazy obscure things that make you not a rookie, then there will be a whole new list of all the things that make me still a rookie. I'm starting to think it's a them problem and not so much a me problem. All this time I've been like, God, when can I finally stop being a rookie? And it turns out the answer is whenever our trucking overlords fucking tell me I can. You know, when the clearly superior truckers finally say you are no longer a rookie, and they give me their blessing. And I don't know, like when you're knighted, you get on your knee with a sword. I mean, like somebody's got a sword and they put it on each shoulder. Like, what do they do here? Is it like christening you, or is it like blessing you? Do they do it with a piss bottle or a flip-flop? Or I don't know. I'm not sure. When do you finally achieve not rookie status? And it's when our overlords finally allow me to achieve not rookie status. They were making all the other shit up. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So the point is, I actually have been driving a truck for 10 years. That is absolutely true. But I went to Swift trucking school about 20 years ago. Now, I was a young man just kind of bumbling through life. I didn't really know what I was doing. Newsflash, still got no fucking clue. I have no idea. I'm making these goofy videos for you. Let's see how that pays off, right? So, anyways, I really did not know what the fuck I was doing in life. I don't mean this in any kind of negative way. It's just sort of like set the tone, I guess. I was somewhat living in the shadow of my older brother. He's a year older than me and incredibly talented at music, can play any instrument, incredibly smart person, was really, really good at computers back when that was a thing, right? When computers were sort of a new foreign concept. You could just, if you told somebody, hey, he's good at computers, they'd be like, fucking what? He's good at computers? But this guy was just very intelligent and very talented. And then there's my goofy ass, right? And I just didn't know what I was doing with life, period, fucking at all. I'm like 21 years old. I was working at a Walmart on the overnight shift, and I had a very, very, very good title. Like, I was way up there in the company. I was the supervisor of our maintenance team there at Walmart. And for any of you that have not worked on the maintenance team at Walmart, it sounds like you're like fixing shit, right? Nah, you scrub the floors, you mop the floors, you sweep the floors, you use the floor scrubbers and the floor buffer. That's it. That's the maintenance crew. That's what they do at night. I mean, I've always taken pride in my work, right? And you know, I had the cleanest goddamn Walmart floors in New Mexico. The secret was, I'll tell you guys the secret. Ready? You put a little Fabuloso in the floor scrubbers. Nothing like it. Nothing like it. So there you go. You know my trade secrets now. But I was, let's say I was doing well for the situation, right? This was New Mexico 20 years ago, and I was making $10 an hour. Well, that wasn't bad fucking money then. As a matter of fact, I owned a house. It was I wouldn't say it was like a small house, but it was a 3-bedroom. It had a fenced in yard. It had a garage. It was, I mean, it's really all you need in life, right? I would kill to have those same luxuries today. I can't afford a fucking garage or a fence. That's fucking crazy. So I would kill to have those same luxuries today. That's a whole other story. If you guys ever want to hear the story of what we did to that poor fucking house, It won't be about trucking, but hey, it's quite a story. It's quite a story. Let me know. Maybe we'll do that sometime. Anyways, I mean, $10 an hour in New Mexico 20 years ago wasn't bad. I had a decent car. But I felt like for me, you know, either I felt like in the long term, maybe it wasn't sustainable, which it was. But if you guys are kind of just getting to know me, I'm always looking for like, what's the next thing, right? What's really out there in the world? And maybe that doesn't show because I've just been driving a truck for the last 10 fucking years. But my focus is more on these videos, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I was always looking for like, what's the next thing? What's going to push me to the next level, right? And I was looking through jobs all the time, and I had seen one day an ad from Swift. It's like, come be a truck driver and we'll train you to be a truck driver. It's free. We'll train you and all this stuff. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll be a truck driver. You know what I knew about truck driving? Jack shit. Jack fucking shit. I didn't even understand the purpose of trucks on the road. Ask the guys that call me rookie truck driver still after 10 years. I probably knew more then than I know now. But anyways, I just didn't know anything about it. I didn't even really understand the concept of it. I was like, I think I could drive a truck. That sounds good. And I applied thinking I'm never going to hear from this company, right? There's no company out there that like you just apply and they send you to wherever their headquarters is and they train you to do the job, and then you come out of the job making good money. The whole concept seemed really foreign to me, that was even a thing. So I didn't even think they were going to call me, right? Next day my phone rings and a lady's talking to me, and she's a recruiter from Swift. And I was asking her questions. I didn't know dick about trucking companies. Sure, I'd seen them, but I hadn't like paid attention to who's who or anything like that. I didn't realize how big like Swift was. It was a different time, guys. I mean, we had internet. We even had high-speed internet, but we were in this weird phase of like even understanding what the fucking internet was for. It was a thing that was there. I used it for playing games. That's it. I played games online and, you know, downloaded Metallica MP3s just because I wanted them to shut down Napster, I guess. I don't fucking know. That's only funny if you're as old as me, I guess. But I never used it for like looking things up. That was kind of like a foreign concept to me. Maybe not to everybody, but like using it as sort of a research tool wasn't something that I even had thought to do back then. As weird as that sounds, I'm kind of a dipshit if you haven't figured it out. Anyways, I get this call and it's this recruiter, and she's like, okay, yeah, we're ready to hire you. She's like, we can get you a bus ticket. You'll come out here. You'll go to our truck driving school. It lasts however many weeks it lasts, and kind of filled me in on the whole thing. And I was thinking I was being like bullshitted. I'm like, is this some sort of fucking scam? This doesn't even make sense. Why would a company hire me, a person with no real world experience at all, and offer to train me and transport me out there? That doesn't even make sense. It didn't make sense to me then. Now, obviously, it's fucking normal. That's normal life. But it just wasn't clicking. I'm like, why would this even be a thing? I thought they were scamming me somehow. I didn't even know how. And they got me a bus ticket, a Greyhound ticket. I was scheduled to head off to orientation. I didn't even know what that meant. I was headed off to orientation and I was going to learn to be a truck driver. Had no idea what I was getting into. But back then, I was really bad about like not speaking up for myself. Like, okay, I applied for something I shouldn't have applied to, right? But then they called and like, you want the job? And I was like, fuck, they want me to say yes. So yes, I want the job. And, so yeah, I got the bus ticket and I'm like, oh fuck, I guess I'm leaving. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I have no fucking clue. And, it was like within a few days, I was on a bus headed for Phoenix. Can you believe it? Right? And I was just not the kind of guy to travel. I'd never been fucking anywhere, right? As you guys know, like, I know that sounds weird because you're like, you were in New Mexico. Aren't you from Colorado? Yes, born in Colorado, moved down to New Mexico in my late teens, 19-ish, maybe 20, with an ex-girlfriend, because her family had moved down there, and I just kind of ended up there for a while. Outside of those things, though, and that move to New Mexico scared the shit out of me. I'm like, where the fuck am I? Like, especially because New Mexico is one of the only states with, like, an actual, like, different culture. If you guys aren't familiar with, like, New Mexico, hanging out there and being around the people and, like I said, the culture of the state, it's fucking awesome. I love that state so much. It's just different. It can be pretty sketchy sometimes, don't get me wrong, but a lot of great memories down there. Anyways, that move scared the shit out of me, but then I'm, like, on this bus going to Phoenix. I'm like, where the fuck's Phoenix? That's crazy. And I was on the edge of, like, a mental fucking breakdown. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Where am I going? Why am I doing this? What is going to happen from here? I just could not grasp the concept of what I was even getting myself into. It didn't make any fucking sense to me. I was riding the bus. You know, buses stop every so often, and I got off the bus at, you know, a gas station to get me something to drink. And when I was passing by a couple other people that were talking, and they were talking about going to, you know, trucking school. So I stopped and I was like, are you guys going to Swift also? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh shit, okay, friends, thank you. Like, and so I'm just kind of listening in on their conversation, and they're talking about trucking and stuff like that, and I'm like, none of this makes sense. And one of the guys was really cool. He's like, oh yeah, I noticed you get on the bus. He's like, are you, like, riding by yourself or what? And I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, me too. Hey, I'll sit with you. Right? So we get back on the bus, and he was a really nice guy, just kind of bullshitting with me all the way there, and he could tell that I was nervous, like, out of my mind nervous. He's like, you gotta chill out, man. He's like, this is not gonna be that bad. He said, you're not going to prison. He's like, it's similar sometimes, but it's not prison. You're gonna be just fine. And he was kind of like talking me down off the ledge the whole time. And I'm glad I met him, because I knew that when I got to the bus station in Phoenix, I was supposed to call Swift's shuttle to come pick me up. And I was dreading that the whole time. Like I said, I didn't really know how to speak for myself. It was a weird fucking time for me. Very, very socially awkward, and just terrified of the world, right? So I was glad I met him, because, like, that was a topic of conversation. I'm like, hey, when we get there, are you going to call the shuttle for us? And he's like, yep, don't worry about it. I'll call that shuttle for us. I said, okay, cool. Awesome. So long bus ride. He's trying to, you know, calm my nerves the whole time. And honestly, it didn't work. I was just scared out of my mind. Like, I don't even realize what I just did or what I just signed up for. I just don't get it. But we got there to Phoenix, and he called for the shuttle, and things are different from 20 years ago. Now, for the most part, companies have HR departments, and they follow HR guidelines and things like that. Back then, I would say that trucking was still very much like the Wild West a little bit. Like, there's a bunch of people still thinking we're all fucking cowboys out here. We're just a bunch of middle-aged men that couldn't get our shit together, and now here we are, right? But I always love that when somebody's like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're still cowboys. Like, it's time for you to grow up there, little tyke. Like, you take off your little cowboy boots and all that, and just chill the fuck out. We're literally just people that drive a truck. We're not cowboys, I can assure you that. But those times, it was still a little bit different. It was just fucking different. So the Swift van pulls up, and some goofy ass fucking hillbilly motherfucker gets out and goes, get your shit in that van right now. And we put our stuff in there, and I went, what the fuck just happened? So we get in there, and he starts just lecturing us like, we're going to take you to that motel room. You get in there and you get checked in. There's no funny business, okay? You won't be smoking weed in that room. You won't be smoking cigarettes in that room. You won't be drinking in that room. And now, as an older person that's been around the industry, I understand. I still don't like the approach, but I understand what they were doing, because it's Swift, a very large company. Like I said, the industry was much more Wild West than it is now. Sorry, cowboys. They were hiring a lot of people all the time, and they probably had people breaking these rules constantly. Now, it's as easy, because I'm a person that likes words. I think that communication, like a normal person, is okay. Sometimes you guys hear me get fired up in my videos. I'll do that. It's very rare in my day-to-day life that I'll actually like raise my voice and shout at someone. I mean, it's happened, but it's very rare that I do. I'm a big fan of just using your words like an adult and communicating. So they could have done that any fucking number of ways, right? Instead of all this shouting and basically acting like we were prisoners. I was frightened. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And he's just running down all these fucking rules, and he says, and this bus gets there to the motel at 5 a.m. He says, your ass ain't in it by 5:02. You're walking the fuck home. We don't want people that are going to be late here. All right? So we won't even keep you around. So 5:02, your ass is the fuck out of here. And we don't give a fuck how you get home. Okay, I mean, those are all valid points. Those are all valid fucking points. You want people that are going to show up on time, no excuses, all these things. But why all this shouting, you fucking psychopath? What is going on with you? Right? I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I said, and this was my first impression of the trucking industry. It's crazy that 10 years after that, I decided to go into it. It's crazy to think about, because I will never forget just like being shouted at for absolutely no reason. I'm like, I was here. I rode the bus here. I'm on time. Like, I don't understand why you're acting like this. I don't fucking get it. I don't fucking know. Should have probably kept me out of the industry forever, because I just figured, okay, that's how they act. That's how they act. But it didn't. It didn't. Forgot what else I was going to say on that. Anyways, we get to the motel. He tells us go in and check in. And we go do that, and I'm behind my new friend that I just made. And they're not really like, there's no certain like room reservations for each person. It's like they're just like filling up the rooms as they go. It's shared rooms. They had told me that on the phone. You're going to share a room with one person while you're in orientation. And that was like, ah, fuck. Okay, I guess if that's what they do, that's what they do. But I didn't like the idea of it, but I understood I was going to share it with one person. So he checks in, he's doing his thing, and the lady looks at me. She's like, are you a Swift too? I said, yep. She goes, well, I'll just put you guys in the same room. Does that work? I said, fuck yeah, that works awesome. I met the guy on the bus. This is what I'm thinking at this point, because that would be weird, right? If she was like, does that work? And I was like, and I was standing there at 21 years old going, you know what? That does work, because I met this dude on the bus and he seems like a really nice guy. So I'm really glad you put us in that room. I was not saying it out loud, but that's what was going through my head. I'm like, okay, cool. He's just a nice dude. Awesome. So we get our room. We're both sharing a room. I thought it was like the coolest thing. I'm like, that's awesome. I appreciated the guy so much, because he was kind of just showing me through the motions. Maybe he was a trucker already, you know, maybe he wasn't new to the industry. I'm not really sure. I guess I never asked. I didn't think to ask at all. But we get our room. She gives us each a key. We head back to our room. Like, hell yeah, I got the coolest roommate in Swift, the coolest one. Fuck yeah. And we get back there to the room. He opens up the door. We go in. There's 2 sets of bunk beds. 2 sets of bunk beds. That means there's 4 beds in this room. And I'm like, what in tarnation is going on here? And he goes, I don't know. They told me it was 2 to a room. He's like, maybe they just put extra beds. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen bunk beds in a motel room. That's crazy. He's like, well, I'm taking this bed. And he throws his bag on one of the beds. And I'm like, hell yeah. And so I throw my bag on one of the other beds. You know, we both grab us a bottom bunk. And we're just kind of chilling out, hanging out in the room, he's talking about maybe he's going to go get something to eat soon, but, you know, he's a little bit hungry. He's like, but I just want to chill out for a bit after that bus ride. I was like, yeah, cool. Let me know when you're ready to go eat, because I could eat too. So we're sitting there just chilling when all of a sudden the door burst open and 4 dudes walk in the room, right? And they're just raising hell walking in there. One guy comes over, grabs my bag, puts it on the floor. He says, you don't just take another motherfucker's bed. What the fuck are you doing? And I grab my bag. I'm like, dude, I didn't realize it was someone else's bed. They assigned us this room. And they're looking at the other guy too and telling him, get the fuck off that bed. Who the fuck do you two think you are? You just come in here and take other people's fucking bed. And I'm like, what in the fuck is happening right now? Like, I'm having a whole crisis in my head. I'm like, we were just sitting in a room and these 4 dudes walk in and now they're yelling at us about having each other's beds, and like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm starting to freak the fuck out. And the other dude, he goes, who the fuck are you guys? And one of them's like, we're at Swift. We're in school right now. And the guy's like, oh, we thought it was only 2 people to a room. And then the one dude, their ringleader of the other posse, you know, he starts telling them, you know what, we thought that too. When we got here, we put our stuff on the bed. The guys that started the week before us came in here and throwing all our shit all over the floor. So I guess the cycle continues, right? That's just how we're going to treat the, like, could you imagine being somewhere for a week and somebody shows up a week later and you're like, fuck yeah, I run this place, motherfucker. I've been here a week longer than you. It was fucking strange. But, they're like, yeah, there's 4 of us already to this room. So dude that I'm with goes up to the desk and says, hey, we thought it was 2 to the room. Apparently there's 4 bunk beds, so it's 4 to a room. But there's already 4 guys in there, 4 beds, and us, that's 6 guys. So what the hell's the deal? And she goes, yeah, there's not enough rooms. Some of you are going to have to sleep on the floor. What? That's fucking crazy. So I'm really struggling with this. Like I said, I had no social skills at all. I'm in a different place with literally $60 in my pocket to my fucking name. That's all I got. And I'm like freaking the fuck out because I just got yelled at for taking someone else's bed. And like on top of that, like if these guys are leaving next week and it's me and this dude the week after that, now we're the veterans, right? We're the OGs of that room. Now when we come in one day from our class, do we start throwing people's shit around? Do I have it in me to walk into a room and start getting in a motherfucker's face and saying, you don't move my shit, I've been here a week longer than you, bitch? Like how hard am I gonna get after a week of Swift training? And I don't mean hard like some of you sick fucks are thinking right now. I'm thinking like battle hardened, like fucking, how much of a badass am I going to be after a week at Swift orientation? Am I going to be able to do this, right? And the answer I came to in my mind was no, fuck no, I'm not going to be able to do this. I don't have it in me to walk into a room and throw somebody else's shit on the floor and ask them what the fuck they think they're doing. I don't have it. I ain't got it, man. And so now I'm going, I have to go home. I can't do this. You heard me right. I was at Swift's motel for less than an hour, and I'm already starting to think I gotta leave. I've been yelled at by a bus driver. I've been booked into a room that I told was for 2 people that was set up for 4 people that contained 6 people, to where I got my shit thrown on the floor and yelled at by 4 dudes about what the fuck I thought I was doing. And I was like, I hate trucking. This fucking sucks. This is awful. And so the other dude that, you know, I was hanging out with, he's like, hey, there's a Waffle House down the street. Do you want to go eat? And I was like, fuck yeah. So we're walking to the Waffle House. It's summer in Phoenix, and I had never in my life felt heat like that. I was getting dizzy just walking down the street. It was so fucking hot. Oh my God, I'm never coming back to Phoenix again. This is the worst fucking thing ever. And we went and ate at the Waffle House. And on the way back to the Waffle House, we were passing by a gas station with a payphone in front of it. And I'm not going to berate the youngsters like the generation before me, but I didn't have a cell phone. And now I'm looking weird. I didn't have a cell phone, and payphones were a thing. You put a couple quarters in and you call whatever you need to call. And I mean, I'm sure people understand that. It's not like a crazy foreign concept. But I said, hey, I'll meet you back in the room, man. because I had my bag still with me because I didn't want to get them thrown on the floor again. So I went over and I picked up the phone book and I looked through it and I found a taxi company and I called them and said, I'm not really sure where I'm at. There's a Waffle House. I'm at these cross streets. I can see the street signs. I'm at this gas station and across from me is, the motel. Do you guys know where I'm at? And they were like, I think we do. Where do you need to get to? And I said, I need to get to the Greyhound station. They said, okay, well, give us about a half hour, 45 minutes-ish, and hopefully you see us. And if you do see us, that's your ride, and we'll be glad to take you to the Greyhound station, right? And this actually reminds me, see, this story's 20 years old. It wasn't a backpack. It was one of those rolling, like these duffel bags with the wheels on it and the handle, right? That's what I was using. I was dragging that around with me. And the reason that it's important that I remembered that was for this next part of the story. So yeah, it wasn't like Uber either, where you watch as your car's coming. You just hope. You just hope they show up, right? Eventually, I see this taxi roll up, and tears start to roll down my eyes a little bit. Seriously, I got teared up. I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I don't know what the fuck just happened, what I got myself into, but no, absolutely not. And so I'm waving down the taxi driver, and he's like, oh, fuck yeah, there you are, right? And he comes over, he sees my big bag, and he opens up his trunk, and he grabs it. He gets out of the car before he grabs it, because that would be weird if he didn't. But he grabs it, and he puts it in the trunk, and he's like, let's go, you're going to Greyhound, right? I said, hell yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, I've got $60 in my pocket, and it's probably going to be about $40 to catch a bus ride home, right? 20 years ago, guys, 20 years ago. And I was pretty accurate on that. So we get to the Greyhound station. It's $13 for the cab fare, right? Okay, I'm going to spend $40 on my bus fare. So it's $13. That's $7 left. I know they got vending machines in there. I might need something to drink for the road, something to eat for the road, things like that. And I handed him a 20, and he hands me back my $7. I'd never taken a taxi before in my life. And I said, thank you. And I put the money in my pocket. And he goes, fucking really? And I said, what? And he grabbed my bag out of his trunk and he just drops it onto the concrete. Shattered one of the wheels, so now I got to carry the thing. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, no tip, really? And I was like, oh my God, like, it didn't even occur to me. And like, he could have just like said, hey, normally we get a tip, or he could have said any number of things in the world, but he just broke my shit and drove away. It must be a Phoenix thing. Maybe everybody's just pissed off in Phoenix because it's so fucking hot. Like, I've been yelled at multiple times today. I had my shit broken. What in the actual fuck? Okay, fine. So I go in and I get my my bus ticket. I need to get back to Albuquerque. Let's go. And I do that, and it's like a 3-hour wait for the next bus to Albuquerque. Okay, that's a long time when you don't have smartphones and shit like that. Like, what the fuck do you do at Greyhound? Smartphones, I believe, existed. If they didn't yet, I mean, cell phones existed. You could play Snake on it, like, to your heart's fucking content, but I didn't even have one of those. I was flat broke, guys. I think smartphones kind of existed, but like very few people had them. What do you do for 3 fucking hours at a Greyhound station? Well, I was a cigarette smoker then, so I smoked a lot of fucking cigarettes. That's what I did. But I noticed every time I would like walk by the doors to go out to the smoking area, there was this older guy that would just stare at me all the way across, and he would smile at me. I was like, what's going on with this guy? Finally, during one of my treks to go have a cigarette, he followed me out, and I'm like, I mean, why not? I mean, this day's been shit anyways. Hopefully he fucking murders me. Like, I'm just over it, right? And he's like, hey, can I ask you something? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, what's your name? So I told him my first name. I said, I'm Josh. And he goes, what year were you born? I said, I ain't telling you that, man. And he's like, are you from, like, here? And I'm like, no. He goes, oh, okay. Whew, okay. He said, I have a son that I haven't seen in years since he was a kid. But his facial features, like I thought looking at you, like if my son had grown up, like, well, I think his son grew up. I don't think he died. Like if he had seen his son grow up, I think is what he was saying. Not if my son had survived that night, then he would look like you. But he's like, you know, it seems like he would look like you. And anyways, that's how I finally met my dad. No, I'm just kidding. I was like, well, that's weird. No, I'm not your son. Then eventually I got on the bus and I went home, and I almost never looked at trucking again, because when I finally started to settle on, well, maybe I'll be a trucker, and started to really understand the business a little bit more just through YouTube videos. I'm still a rookie, still to this day. I almost didn't do it because of that experience with Swift. And when I was looking at it, because of that experience, Swift was never an option for me, and never has been since then. Now, I have recommended Swift to other new drivers, because the reason I've recommended them, they're going to train you, they're going to get you that CDL, and they've got so many fucking options. You want to do flatbed, you want to do reefer, you want to do dry van, you want to do regional, you want to do over the road, you want to do dedicated, you want to do local. That's why I've recommended them. But from my own personal experience, the company has never been an option for me, because they just were awful. Like I said, that was 20 years ago. I'm sure a lot's changed. I'm sure those old fucks that in the van aren't still driving the van around Phoenix yelling at everyone. I'm sure of it. And I bet they do single occupancy rooms, I would hope, but maybe not. It's hard to say. Well, as big as they are, maybe not. Maybe not. Anyways, that's the time I went to Swift training or orientation. See you guys.